One of the first subjects I want to get into so we can dive into this whole side of human psychology. I graduated from Johns Hopkins with a neuroscience degree, so I am very fascinated with the way the brain works and the different components and how our brain is structured to retain memory, what's valuable to us, what drives behavior, things like that. And so collections is one of the most fascinating things to me because it is part of our whole life existence since we were kids. There are five reasons why collections is such an important part of our experience as a human, basically. The first one is feeling joy as a child. Like I've discussed earlier, we have two people that we're responsible for, our past self and our future self. Everybody has a 5-year-old inside of them that has needs, feelings, experiences, and memories that's kind of locked away in a vault we occasionally have a peep into, and a lot of our motivation are driven by that 5-year-old because your emotional value and foundation has really been solidified by age 5. That means there are certain things in your memory that will forever be a component of who you are. For example, toys you liked, smells, food, different things will evoke feelings of joy and memories you've already stored away. So for example, grandma's cookies or the chicken pot pie that you grew up with, every time you smell it, it's going to bring you right back there. It's almost like a shortcut into who you were. And so that feeling of now I understand who I am at 5 years old, all of those variables, all of those details are locked into your memory. So that's a feeling of your nostalgia, who you were, is always locked into collections. So whenever you collect something, that's basically like you're handing money to a 5-year-old and saying, go spend money on whatever you want. And that 5-year-old inside of you will always go buy things related to the things of joy. So for example, like if you grew up loving a certain type of toys or a certain thing, you might collect a bunch of it because now you have money and resources to fulfill that need for that child who may not have had the resources to have that thing. So it could be like a certain type of toy or a certain type of foods you liked, different things that will appeal to that child's sense of belonging and comfort and love. And number two, it's the challenge and the hunt. So primitive people, nomadic people, we've always had that hunt inside of us that we want to go and find prey and kill them and bring them home and fire them up and eat the kill. And so that's kind of that instinct inside of us that wants to go hunt, that challenge of finding something rare, difficult, something hard. It makes it fun for us to collect that because, we may not have the full set, or we may not be able to get the original, the first edition. Whatever it is that you want when you get that item, in the mint condition of the first edition of this and that, it gives you that sense of accomplishment. So that's a third value that it appeals to, which is accomplishment, where you can feel like you've accomplished something important because you were able to find that special first edition toy or the first edition car, the 1935 edition of something that no one can find except for you. So it gives you that ability, like we're pirates and we're going to go out and get the thing that we want and we're going to get our treasure. Okay, so number 4 is the sense of story, because every item, like all of these you see behind me, there's a story there. It appeals to some part of us that connects with another part of us, and so that story links our identity into what we feel as, are we now closer to where we want to be? So every time you're closer to your future self, you envision yourself as elevating your status. So that means I'm now more connected with who I'm trying to become. So if I collect all these expensive cars, I am now closer to who I envision I can become. If I collect all of these vintage watches or these homes or whatever expensive thing I'm collecting, if I tell myself the story that, someone who's successful has all the fancy cars and I can go buy 3 fancy cars, now I've elevated my status closer to who I'm trying to become. Every time you do something for yourself, when you become closer to the person you're trying to become, you envision yourself as increasing your status. And anything that increases your status makes you want to get that thing and do that action. So, for example, if I want to grow up to become a doctor, every time I do something like I score well on my MCAT, I do well in my classes, that increases my status because I know I'm getting closer to the goal that I'm trying to accomplish. If I want to be a movie star and I get into a basic movie, that still increases my status because now I'm at least getting involved into things that I care about and that I want to become. I want to be a famous actress. So therefore, even if I star in a small movie, it's still getting me closer to who I am, who I want to become. Or it connects you to who you were. So if I love Star Wars and I get that first edition of something, or I get the collection of something, now I feel like my childhood self is more satisfied, and therefore I develop that story that I am the person that likes this and I am the person that will see value in it versus someone else who doesn't care about it. It could be the first edition of whatever, and they just think it's a piece of trash. So to them, it may not have any value, but to you, there is a huge identity where you feel like if I get that first edition of this thing, it shows that I've accomplished so much in life that I can afford this most important manuscript of whatever it is that I value. There's so much of us that we don't even know. Like, we don't even know that much about ourselves, and we don't really reflect as much as we should. But when you feel like there's an action you're taking, there's a part of you that's making that decision without you, that means your emotional self is saying, I want that. And it has no rational, it doesn't make any sense. Just like art, like there are certain art that because of the rare occurrence and because it's so special, it makes you want to have it because you're the only person that has it and you're the person that values this particular thing. And so therefore it also increases your status and it connects you to your identity of someone who values art, or someone who, if I am a Michael Jordan fan, I might be wanting to go to an auction where I can bid really high amounts of money for the first basketball that he signed at one of the Chicago Bulls championships. That might be interesting to me versus someone who's not a basketball fan, who might be a football fan. And now I want all sorts of fan products that show that I am this person and I care about this football team. And so those are all things that we connect with, and that's how we spend money, by the way. And it may not make any sense to you because none of these things, the collections, help you survive. But what if there's perceived value in it? I mean, there's really not much different between something that you're collecting back in the day that you thought is going to be so valuable. And sometimes because of the rarity, they actually become very valuable, like Pokemon cards or special first edition toys that certain people, because of their value that's the same as yours, they're willing to pay more for it. So collections is a very interesting subject, and that we want to get into that a little bit by exploring some collections together that used to be very popular, and it's going to be fun for us to explore that and see where that takes us and all the memories that evokes in you and me. And I'm going to be exploring a bunch of collections in my first series. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy this journey we're taking together, and we're going to have so much fun together.